Human beings are searching for the personal experience of reality. They are seeking to come to understand themselves, to find a reason for their own existence.
And so you go round and round and round, ever chasing the illusion that there is something outside yourself, outside your here and now, to be attained that will make things better.
No guru, no method, no teacher, and no nothing else either.
Salutations, fellow phoenixes. While on the journey of our lives, it's easy to get postponed, pondering the past, or feverishly fixate on the future. Needless to say, next to none of us are able to navigate the now while transfixed by these phantasms of time. In my experience, we can learn to live a prayer, dive into the depths of our present, and at times surface to evaluate our position on our path. We can see where we have come and utilize that knowledge in the present to roughly prepare for our future. When we are able to incorporate the totality of all our experiences into the current moment in our lives, we are in the Tao of Now. Pardon me. And right now, I'd like to take a moment and focus on what we're grateful for today. Today, I'm grateful that I am celebrating 18 months free of mind or mood altering chemicals, recreational chemicals. And for me, that's like a surreal moment for me. When I started out, like looking back on it, I didn't think it was capable. And like tying that into this concept of the Tao of Now, I can prepare for the future knowing that I have more resources than I currently even know that I do, and more ability than I currently think that I possess. And I think that that's true of everybody, that a lot of times we sell ourselves short. And in some ways, I think that selling ourselves short sometimes is actually a good thing. It's just the amount that we short sell ourselves. And now I'd like to get into a couple of quotes. Those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know. And that was said by Lao Tzu, the writer of the Tao Teh Ching. Do you have the patience to wait until your mud settles and the water is clear? And again, that's said by Lao Tzu in the Tao Teh Ching. And finally, a man with outward courage dares to die. A man with inner courage dares to live. And again, that was said by Lao Tzu in the Tao Teh Ching. So why am I on this concept of the Tao of Now? Because within the past couple of days, like I've been looking back on everything that's got me to now and like trying to figure out what I need to do to have a better future, or like prepare myself for the future that is in my trajectory. And it's like in regards to recovery, I need to go back to what worked at the beginning and like refocus that energy and revitalize a lot of those concepts. I was sharing at a meeting earlier that like sometimes our good habits erode slowly over time, just like I personally have eroded a lot of the negative habits in my life. Those negative habits tiptoe back in slowly, or new negative habits tiptoe back in slowly. So I have to remain vigilant and aware of that and like stay in the now with everything and recognize that maybe I don't want to do this now, but now I need to do it, because saying that I can let it slide and I'll do it again later, that doesn't always work for me. So that's like how it dials in regards to that. And like in regards to the Tao of Now with this podcast, for example, I've kind of been down on myself because when I wasn't recording, I was like getting more plays and like all this stuff that I like when I started this podcast wasn't concerned with. It was about the message. It was about sharing my experience and hoping that it connected with people and getting people to approach their situations differently and think about it differently. And like even within somebody just like having basically saying that my last episode was bullshit because they didn't agree with it, like me getting somewhat upset about that, like not reacting to it, but getting upset about it. And it's like, what does it matter what their opinion is? Like, I know the quality of life that I have, and also know that like not everything I think is accurate. And if that's accurate for me now, that's fine. They can have a different opinion. Ironically, we were essentially saying the same thing in some way, shape, or form. I didn't like the way they said it. They didn't like the way that I said it. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. Um, and that's what I need to remember. Like, I'm doing this for me. I hope that it helps other people. And I hope that what I'm saying can get you to think different ways. But ultimately, having you agree with me isn't the point of doing this. There's something in my daily Tao reading where it kind of said the path of Tao is lonely. You'll be poor, thought a fool, and like destitute, essentially. And maybe that's what's supposed to happen to me, and that's what I need to remember, that like no matter where this takes me, like recovery or what I'm doing, at least I've been able to do this podcast for as long as I have. At least I've been able to talk about these things. At least I'm in a better space now in this moment. So who it reaches, it doesn't really matter. As far as the book, like the Tao of Now in regards to the book, in some ways I'm like, why am I not selling more? Why isn't it like better? Why isn't it doing more? And really it's like, I've sold more copies of a book than I've ever sold in my life. I had this expectation of what it should be, or this thought that I should be doing better with it. I haven't really promoted it beyond a group of friends on Facebook. I haven't put any effort into selling it yet, really. And I'm already doubting myself. And when I was finishing the book, the whole goal was finishing the book. And it's so funny how I can get out of the Tao of Now and not focus on like what a blessing it is to be doing this podcast, or what a blessing it is to have completed a book, and just take pride in the completion of that process. Or with the podcast, take pride in being in the process of doing it. And it's so funny to like how human I can still be, I guess. And it's like, obviously I know I'm still human, but it's like a very humbling experience to have those things come up, I guess. I want to get into these quotes now because I've really kind of got to the meat and potatoes of what I wanted to talk about today. Those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know. I talk about it because I can honestly say I don't know. I don't know everything. And I'm okay with that today. Like, I don't need to know everything. I know more than I did at some point, but that's still not really that much. Do you have the patience to wait until your mud settles and the water is clear? Last year, one of the things that I had asked for was, I had prayed for was patience. Don't ever do that. No. I've had so many situations that have tested my patience. But in many ways, too, I feel like that the mud is clearing somewhat. But it ties back into an episode I did, I don't know, 40, 50 episodes ago, the 4 enemies of Carlos Castaneda. And one of the enemies was clarity. And I think this is where a lot of people get tripped up on, like, their journeying in life, is thinking that they have the absolute gnosis, the absolute truth, that their opinion is absolute and it's universal for everybody else. And for me, clarity is one of the ultimate distortions. And distortion is one of the best paths to understand clarity. So I don't know, make of that what you will. I'm letting things settle, and I'll stir it up by letting it settle, I guess, is something else too. A man with outward courage dares to die. A man with inner courage dares to live. And that's one of the things, like when I was in active addiction or like mentally unwell, I wasn't necessarily afraid to die. There was plenty of times where I thought I was going to die, and I would just curl up in a ball and like go to bed thinking that I was going to die. Even when I started the medication, for my mental health stuff. I pretty much felt like I was going to die living how I was. And I figured that the medication was going to kill me just because of the psychosis. So I took the risk of the medication killing me just because I was certain the other way was going to kill me. And it wasn't 100% sure that the medication would. And it's weird now, like, I don't want to say that I'm not afraid to die, and I don't want to say that, like, I am afraid to die. I'm pushing myself to live and to have these new experiences, like writing a book and putting out a decade of my poetry to the public to, like, physically see adds a whole new layer of vulnerability to what I've been doing. Like, doing this podcast and exposing so much of, like, my inner details, getting to go to meetings in different states, getting to travel, getting to talk to people that I wouldn't have talked to normally, like having all these visceral life experiences simply because I'm not using substances, and filling that hole that I filled with substances, or filling that space in my life. I heard somebody kind of say that, like, as addicts, we don't have a hole in us. It's a hole that we create with the concept of it. So filling the space in my time with substances was what I did before. Now I'm filling the space in my time with things that give me the quality of life that I want. Like, when I was getting high, it was always, oh man, I'd want this life. Now I'm actively cultivating the things that I want instead of looking at these phantasms of what could be. It's life's way different. And they say in recovery, like, if you got what you thought you would get when you came into the program, you're selling yourself short. And it's weird to, like, see how true that is, because the feeling that I have inside, like, is surreal. The life that I'm creating, although to many it would be, there's a lot of room for improvement. I mean, for me, there's a lot of room for improvement too. I'm so proud of what I've cultivated so far. And looking back on the whole experience holistically, like, I'm so grateful to have gotten to be in this whole process, to have been able to document it and share, like, what's going on in my life with people in this format, and to just get to experience things. Like, even if what I'm doing never goes beyond what it has gone beyond, like, I'm fine. And that's what I need to remember. Right now in this moment is what matters. Like, what happens with this in the future doesn't matter. What happens with the book in the future doesn't matter. What has happened with the podcast in the past doesn't matter. What has happened with the book in the past doesn't matter. What has happened with my addiction, like, I need to take the gnosis of that, all those experiences, and carry it with me. But I also don't need to be controlled by it. Yeah, I'm just really grateful I'm in this surreal space. I just want to thank everybody for listening who enjoys this podcast. I'm not going to do plugs on this episode for any of my stuff. Just because, like, just thank you, and thank everybody that's been a part of my recovery. I want to thank the Tao, the mysteries, the Great Spirit, whatever it is. Yeah, and thank you all. I love, respect, and appreciate all of you. Love and light. Namaste.